Learned behavior is what separates us from the apes, and one of the ways we've learned behavior is we have microphones today like last night, so hope it makes it a little bit easier. Brian works in the Community Development Department, and I want to introduce Catherine Madden, who is our consultant for this part of the process of the Cambridge Conversations. Catherine has a consulting firm, Madden Consulting, and is also teaches at Harvard Graduate School of Design, and she's got extensive experience with a great deal of planning exercises, including master plans in other communities, and will be very helpful guiding us through this process tonight. And we thank you very much for your engagement with us in this process. Catherine?
Thank you, Brian. All right. Does this work all right? Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. I love it. So as far I'm Catherine, and I am really glad to be here. I know some of you were here last night. It is going to be the same as last night, but what will make it different is that there are different people in the room. So I have worked all over the country, and it's given me a lot of experience in different ways to just seeing different cities, meeting different people. I also have a long history in and around Cambridge for the last 30 years, so I'm very glad to be part of this. See, my voice is still rough from last night. All right. So one of the questions is, why do a master plan now? And can everybody see all right? Because I'm going to have to... could you advance those slides for me, maybe? Would you mind, Elaine? Or yeah, so that I don't have to stand right there. Or Brian, you, if you could. Yeah, that'd be great. Okay. So why do a master plan now? Well, one reason is because a lot of people have been asking for it, and it's been a big topic of discussion both in Boston and in Cambridge of needing to sort of grab a hold of everything that's going on and take stock and be able to look long range into the future. The City Council has responded and done an order, and I want to recognize Councilor McGovern, I think. Yes, thank you. Councilor Carlone is right here.
Councilor Sweeney called and said that he is stuck at the State House.
Yes, okay, great. And I know we have and different staff too as well. So anyway, they've taken leadership and responded, and that's really how we came to be here with these Cambridge Conversations. This is really the planning to set up the plan. So we're talking about what should the priorities be, what should the process be. It's really a time to exchange ideas in an open-ended way. As well, one of the things that certainly we've heard a lot about is the pace of change is very fast, in terms of especially a lot of the development that's happening. Certainly we've heard around up in Alewife, but really all over the city, and I will tell you all over the region, all over the country. Everybody's coming out of the recession. There is a lot of building going on right now. Things are happening fast, as well as other global national changes. So it's time for an update. I think that's safe to say, time to sort of pull it all together and see where we are. So the timeline, this is a very general timeline because we haven't totally worked it out. Part of having this process is to work this out in more detail. Master plans often take 2 to 3 years, so this is a big commitment. Everybody needs to be ready to sign up to work hard, and that's both the city staff, the city council, but obviously everyone in this room, all the residents, nonprofits, everybody that will be involved. But where we are today, we're this little box up here. We're collecting ideas. We're collecting ideas at these 3 community meetings. We're collecting ideas at 17 drop-in sessions all around the city this month. And we're open to going to talk to other neighborhood groups as needed. What we will be doing over the summer is distilling those ideas and reporting back to the city council. And then part of also these discussions is to find out, what do we need to know? What are the questions? What kind of data would be useful? And in the fall, we can start to collect that. And all of this will lead to scoping out what the master plan will be and then beginning the master plan. So you see, we're at the very beginning. So what are we hearing? We've had 3 of the drop-in sessions. We had a very good conversation last night also. And the point of the drop-in sessions is really to go where people are. So we were at the Fresh Pond Day. There was a table set up at the ECOS meeting. How many people were at that meeting? Right? So you sort of saw what that was, you know, and it's really just informal discussions. People that don't have a lot of time can just stop by. We went to the Miller River Apartments up on Cambridge Street. It was a great conversation. It really became like a focus group with people that would otherwise never, I can imagine, never have come out to a public meeting. So that's what we're trying to hear, many different voices, different corners of the city. So some of what we're hearing is that there's a lot of development going on, sort of worry about the density, worry about the traffic, worry about the pace, whether there should be, you know, whether there should be a pause or a moratorium. That has come up, so that would be something that would take a lot of discussion. We've heard there's a lot of bikers. I guess if you go to Fresh Pond Day, you tend to see a lot of bikers. So a lot of conversation about more bike trails, more bike racks. Open space, we saw a lot of families, people that do enjoy a lot of what's going on in the city. But then when you talk to different people, like at Miller's River, it's just a totally different conversation. The people that we talked to were very concerned about their immediate environment, you know, in terms of how do you access, handicap access in and around the building. So I just want to emphasize how different the conversations are and what we hear. We'll report back more later. One of the questions that we had, actually on the first day, on Fresh Pond Day, was what's the state legislation that enables master plans? So just a quick survey of looking at the Mass General laws that enabled this, and they were written in the 30s, just to give you some perspective of how dated they are. They were written in the 30s, amended in the 40s, and last amended in the 50s. And so you can imagine they were responding to a very different set of context at that time. But but the intent is still the same. It's to inform decision making so that you don't have to be making decisions project by project by project, that you start to set policies that will guide development. In this case, you know, it is focused on the physical, but I think we can interpret that to be looking at other things as well. Can I just go back to those 9 elements? The way it's written is that you must address these 9 elements, and this is the way master plans have always been written over the years. Is there's a chapter on transportation, housing, land use, and one of the things. Actually, now if you go to the next slide. One of the things that we see going on is people reinterpreting that and trying to look not just at those topics, but look at the way they're interconnected. So that, you know, you can't just look at land use without looking at traffic, without looking at stormwater, without looking at schools. All of these things are interconnected. So it's a challenge, frankly, to get out of those silos of looking at just functional elements and try to look at how things are interconnected. But the Plan New York City, Summer Vision, there's a number of sustainable plans, Greenfield, Lowell, and over the summer we can look, you know, across the country and look at other examples of what's going on. But the American Planning Association, you can see, is looking at principles that are a little bit more interesting in terms of how things are tied together. But the main thing in starting a master plan would be to come up with a set of principles, a set of goals that relate to Cambridge, that are meaningful here. We don't need to look at everything, we need to look at what's important for Cambridge. The outcome. So it is a lot of work. I think we want to make sure that we're focused on the outcomes. One of the comments last night was also being focused on the assessments, so that you're not supposed to be able to read this little chart at the bottom, but that's an action plan. That there would be a series of actions, that it would be clear what the measures were for success, who was doing what, and that you try to keep stock of it. Also, let's see, so a master plan would be intended to change policies, change land use, change development guidelines, zoning. We would hope that it would make the planning board's job easier. It also can be an opportunity to visualize data, visualize built environments, so so that one can start to see how development would look in the future. As we go forward, we're going to talk about this more. You know, I think we need to continually remind ourselves, like, who is doing what, what's everybody's role, how are we all involved, how are we involved together in this? In terms of the role of the city council, the role of being clear on what the city council does, what's the planning board's role, the city administration and the departments, how all those things work together. As we go forward, what is the role of the residents? How do people stay involved, the businesses, the nonprofits? And one of the things that we, always need to be thinking about the value of people's time, the value of city staff's time, but the value of your time too, of how many meetings you want to go to, how can we be most effective, and just respecting different ways that people have knowledge, right? That's what I find in this work, is you never know where a good idea is going to come from. Outreach methods. There are a lot of different outreach methods. Tonight we're going to do work sessions. It's the most basic. But there are a lot of different things that go on. I'm sure that you all have experiences from other places, perhaps, or things that you've read about. There are a little bit variations on a theme. There's intercept surveys. Sorry, I don't have a pointer, but audience response systems with clickers. Focus groups is always the best way, I think. Interactive online games, next. Brian, next. Yeah. This World Cafes is very popular in London and New Zealand. It's really a variation on a work session. Arlington just used that. Visual modeling, there's different programs that can allow you to test what development looks like. And then co-urbanize, I think you all are probably familiar, the CRA has been using that. We're going to be up and running hopefully by Friday, I think. So it will be a great platform for those who choose to use it. There's many ways to put input, but that's one of them, to have a managed discussion online. So some of the things, and we're going to ask you tonight for suggestions on how to get people involved, but it's hard to reach everybody. You can't reach, there's 105,000 people in the city. We're not going to reach all of them, but we would like to reach people who are often underrepresented with language barriers, or just someone brought up tonight the need for childcare, right? So having meetings where there's childcare so we can encourage families to come. I think one of the things we see is sort of different expectations based on experience. Some of you in this room, I know, go to a lot of public meetings and you're very up on the issues, and so you have a different expectation than, say, someone who's the first time coming into I should be standing away from this, right? The first time coming into a meeting. There's the question of appropriate locations, and Steve raised the issue last night that last night was not such a great location, especially without mics. But there are no perfect locations in terms of even timing, or any room that we might happen to pick. That's life. Mics help. The question of communicate, how much information do you want? How many email blasts do you think are appropriate? All of those are things that we need to set that up together. And having rules of engagement, this whole notion of listening more than talking, trying to draw out people that are perhaps quieter. I think that's on all of us to try to do that as we go forward. I put this up here just to sort of emphasize those who might not be in the room in terms of this question of the biannual citizen survey. When surveying, I'm not sure what the reach is on this, but yeah, but presumably reaching out to other people that might not come to meetings, and their top issues: education, crime, public safety, and the economy, right? So those are the number one issues for the people responding to this. And then you get into housing, parking, traffic, and other issues. But I just want to emphasize there's those of us in the room and those of us who are not in the room, and how do we hear all those voices? Okay. Yes, Jane.
Based on what you just said, I'm sorry, but my impression, I was at part of the meeting last night and listening to you earlier on tonight, I have the impression that what we're involved in, what we're rightfully involved in now, is planning out, discussing and planning out a process that's going to take place subsequent to these discussions, so that we're sort of invited to what would we like the planning process of this master plan to look like. Is that, have I got that right?
Excuse me, oh my gosh. We're taking ideas from as many people as we can through these meetings, through the drop-in sessions, through separate neighborhood meetings, through hopefully the community engagement, take from every corner to get as many ideas as we can, yes, just as you say, to set up the plan for the fall. A process in the fall. So yes, we want your ideas. So we are going to, in just the tables that you're at, have these 3 questions. I think the timing on them, I'm going to try to hold to the time, because that was mentioned last night also. So we're going to go till 8, we're right on schedule. The first one is just a quick question. Here's the thing. There's a city member at each of your tables, but I'm asking them not to facilitate the group. So among each table, could you find one person who will facilitate the discussion and one person who will take notes? For those of you at a small table, you might want to join another table. And then I could maybe spend 5 minutes on this first question. What's special about Cambridge? Cambridge is not like a lot of other cities. It has a lot of advantages. It has a special position in the region. How can we build on that? Maybe 5 minutes. And then about 15 minutes on what Cambridge's priorities should be, especially looking citywide. And then finally, how would you get other people involved? What kind of process suggestions do you have? Okay, any questions on how we're going to do this? 15, I think also. Check me on that math, please, but it's about right. Okay? And we'll come around and kind of help make sure each of the conversations is covered. If everyone can become part of the bigger group and start to hear what some of the conversations were. All right. What's that? Thank you. Okay, not only am I going to have a microphone, but there are microphones for people that are speaking that Elaine has right here. Oh, Elaine and Stuart. Although Stuart, you're going to, wow.
You're going to run on this side of the room?
Super. Okay, and Stuart is going to write notes also. Stuart?
Are you going to run this way? Sure. All right, great.
Okay. So I know that there are a lot of notes that were taken, and we do want those notes, both the maps and whatever handwritten notes that anybody might want to generate and give. But for this conversation, what we'd really like to do is hear some of the best ideas or some of the most important ideas that were coming out of each discussion. So taking them in order, maybe we could just ask, like Mike's table, in the back, what were some of, whoever, Esther, are you reporting? Well, in terms of what you think,
we would like to take the rest of the meetings and share our ideas and get to win.
yeah, no, it's okay. You can edit since you're reporting back. What do you think what were some of the ideas? What was one really great idea about what's special about Cambridge and how we could use that opportunity?
Well, we talked a lot about our universities and taking advantage of our universities and the resources that we have for the residents.
Is the mic on?
Oh, did everybody hear that?
It is on.
Yeah, she said the universities are a part of what makes Cambridge special.
The fact that we're such a walkable city that you can get from places walking and biking, and you want to walk and bike because every corner is
Okay.
neat and unique. And our diversity was another thing that came up a lot.
Okay. It is an amazing city, actually. You're one more?
Anybody else?
Anything that you forgot? I'm sure other people will pick up on things too that you might have said as well. Yes. Ditto. Okay. And so, right, no need to repeat. Was there any other thing that you came up with? Wow, that's good. Universities, walkable, bikeable, and diversity.
We have so many young people who grow up here and come back.
Okay. Young people. Yeah.
So the only thing I guess to add is the number of young people that grew up here and want to come back.
Right. Yes, it is a great sort of system of young people growing up in the neighborhoods, going to the schools. How about this table?
Well, besides the young people, I believe in the old and young generations coming together and working in collaboration. I think we talked a lot about the fact that there's businesses, there's universities, there's families, there's so many different groups of people, which really brings a great diversity to Cambridge. And working together within those communities is the best part of it all, including the high-tech companies with the low-rise, beautiful buildings that exist.
Right. That's great. Okay. So everybody, the opportunity to have everybody work together at this table. Yes. Wait, who's reporting this? Go ahead. David.
Well, I guess one thing that's not up there is that as a city, we're in financially pretty good shape. One of the things that's not up there is that as a city, we are in financially pretty good shape. We have cash to work with. We have so that's a real asset, and a lot of cities can't boast that.
That's a great.
We also have physical resources here that are lovely and worth taking care of. We talked about the river, but there are probably a whole lot more around Cambridge that we ought to pay attention to and think carefully about preserving and using well.
Okay. And what were some of those things besides the river?
Well, the only one that came to mind was actually the river triggered the thought with me, which is that there are places in Cambridge we have particular sight lines, and as we develop, if we destroy those sight lines, we destroy a sense of openness, and if we develop carefully, we can maintain openness even as we develop.
Right. Okay.
Municipally owned water as a resource. Municipally owned water as a resource.
Oh, that's a great point. You have your own water supply that now has good tasting water even, thank goodness. One of the best things. This table? Remind me. Shelley.
Okay. People here felt that it's a very small, livable community. I mean, we're concerned about the things that are coming at us, but that's going to come up later as a priority. But we would like to keep it a livable community and preserve it as a community that low-income people can continue to live in. And then I think another thing people stressed was that because we're small, we have access to policymakers. I mean, almost on a personal level, people are responsive. The policymakers have been responsive. Again, there are concerns because there are national and state infringements on the priorities that our policymakers have. But right now, people feel good about having that access, and we'd like to preserve it.
Okay. Yeah, access to policymakers, I think, right, exactly, that we're in the room tonight. They're people that you know, and actually, hopefully, everybody feels that way. Is it not you, Lee? Is it who's?
Our group didn't have enough city residents in it, so I was the facilitator, and my understanding is the note taker is supposed to be the person that reports back, and we had to use a city staff person for the note takers. So
It doesn't matter, however you want to do it. Do you not want to report back?
The group didn't pick a person that they wanted to report back, so I don't know that it's particularly fair for me to do it.
It's good with me, though.
Okay.
But they'll disagree. Yeah.
Are you looking, we were told that you were looking for one thing from our group. in
Yeah, something
answering this question.
new that maybe that hasn't been mentioned that surfaced?
So two things that haven't surfaced are the old housing stock,
Okay.
and together with that, the great density that we already have. And then the other thing is that we have a city manager system, not a mayoral system. Those are two things very different from what have been mentioned so far.
And do you think that, and was the discussion that those are good things? Yeah, right. So the city manager system and the older housing stock. Okay.
And the density of the older housing stock.
Right. Okay. It is. It's amazing. Do you want to add something?
Yeah, if I could. I just want to mention that Cambridge is special just based on the different neighborhoods and squares and whatnot. I mean, Central Square from Porter Square to Harvard Square to Cambridge Port to, all over. So it's great that everyone has their pocket, of diversity. So what's special for me is the physical environment. I mean, I love the greenery that you can see, not to put shame on Somerville, you can see the line between Somerville and Cambridge just by an aerial view. You see green, you see trees, you see environment, you see flowers and plants, you see birds, you see bunnies in Cambridgeport. You really see the environment, and that is great. And we underestimate it for what it's worth. The clean air, the clean water, the Victorian houses, the nice Cantabrigian look, I guess you can call it.
Yeah.
That makes me feel at home because I was in Boston, and it wasn't my city. It was just. The city hall is just this upside down concrete pyramid. It's just concrete and brick. The way from Boston to New York is the way from Cambridge to Boston.
Okay.
I'm able to relax here, but it's yet that city feel. So that was really something that was special.
Okay. That's great. Well said. Okay. All those are great ideas. Any other? So, do you think we could go on. There are a lot of things, but I think the things that people remarked on were kind of capture a lot of what makes Cambridge special. So, if that's some of what we treasure, what do we think the priorities should be going forward? So, in a way, what we're really asking is aspirations. What kind of city do we want in the future, and also how do we plan for that? Do you all want to go first in terms of?
I just say, I think there's some ambiguity in understanding the question. The question could be understood as, what are the priorities for doing a master plan? And I think we spent most of our time talking about that. Or it could be understood as, what should be in the master plan? And we didn't really.
That's okay. I think others might have done that, and we'll be interested to hear on what you have. Yes.
Yeah, so specifically, we were talking about what was important in the plan rather than what Cambridge's priorities should be. So one of the things that we identified was that it should be holistic. It's got to be about the city as a whole. The city is a system. You can't isolate parts of it and come up with solutions for one part of the city and not look at impacts citywide. Do you want to just list one thing and then
Sure.
other people? Okay.
Oh, no.
There's plenty more I can go through.
Well, if you have a few others, go ahead.
All right, a couple others. Just general principle around environmental sustainability, both in terms of what we do about our impact on the climate and also how we are resilient to the changes happening around us. Broad notions of equity to all the people in our community, as well as the planning process itself should be democratic. It should represent the interests of the people in the community living here, paying the taxes, and not the interests of external investors, say.
Okay.
We need to determine our community, and the process needs to support that. It is very important that people believe. It's very important that people believe that what comes out of the plan will be operationalized, so that the city has to clearly support it, stand behind it, and be prepared to work with the output of that process. It's got to produce actionable goals. There was one more important point.
Well,
Yeah, I'll come back
to that, because those are important in terms of, they're almost like principles, right, of this, having a shared effort,
the important thing is
the assessment.
be upfront, outline the process that we can believe in, even if we don't believe in even if we don't agree with all the outcomes.
Okay, that's good. These are definitely like principles, yes, and hopefully we'll get some of that out of this group. We'll go back right behind you. Oops, okay. Yeah.
Well, one of the things was affordable housing, and making sure that's evenly distributed within Cambridge. Once again, I think we all agree with this with the approach of the holistic approach, excuse me. And we were thinking about, Morris, would you like to discuss about your affordable housing?
That's perfectly fine. As far as affordable housing comes, we already know that Central Square, Kendall, and the like have been seeing a lot of development, and we're just seeing whether or not there would be a way that we can still include the affordable housing aspects of new development that might be high rises or medium rises. We won't get too ambitious with that, but then actually being able to keep maybe 30% of, let's say, the units that are going to be involved in that to be able to be more towards affordable housing, so that instead of building buildings specifically for affordable housing, actually keeping those part of the community still, not just keeping them on the wayside or right outside. That was just simply the
Right, and that's important, I think, in the inclusionary zoning, and obviously there's a lot of discussion of what those numbers should be, but that whole principle that a building is mixed income.
the principle itself, yes.
Yeah.
I think even before we discussed these grand ideas, what we decided was that understanding the existing resources that do exist and having a comprehensive list of what is available and what isn't available is extremely important, and having that in a centralized form will greatly help everyone understand and be able to get more involved in the community as well.
Yeah, I want to just say something about it, because that would be another question, and maybe we'll have a survey or something, because ultimately, before the fall, it would be great to know what do we need to know. And I think that's kind of what you're saying, like how can data and information help inform this discussion, and that's a whole nother topic, which we'll hopefully get to, like online or something. Yes.
So to add to the affordable housing, also middle income housing and family sized housing. There was one person who was wanting a moratorium because so much development is going on so fast that they were concerned that there would be nothing left to plan. But I think that was the minority opinion in this group, because everybody else wanted housing. You all wanted housing. They didn't want to slow that housing down. Accountability for energy usage, transportation. You can't increase density without looking at transportation. Anyone want to add something?
So another thing that we thought of was keeping in balance housing and job opportunities, and that doesn't just mean, we have X number of jobs and X number of housing, but we have jobs for poor people, we have jobs for middle-income people, we have and housing.
Right. Definitely. Thinking about the type of job we have and who has access to it. Yeah.
And also, as part of that, the type of housing, we felt that if it was possible to have larger units, 3-bedroom units in affordable housing, that would make a big difference. Families would not have to leave Cambridge.
I have to say, I think there are a lot of shared values about what people like about Cambridge. It does come up over and over. Have you?
Yeah. No, I haven't spoken to this guy. So there's, I think, two aspects. One is process for achieving the master plan, and the other are priorities for the master plan.
Right.
So one thing about process that came up in our group was how important it would be to study the infrastructure capacity relative to the population and the environmental impact.
the infrastructure.
That's one thing about process. The other is, on the other end of the plan, once it's being applied, who regulates and reviews it is the staff that is responsible for that, trained to respond sensitively to community needs.
In terms of new development?
No, in terms of once there's a plan and it's being regulated, presumably by staff,
right,
are those staff trained to be responsive to community needs? So that's the process side. Now the priorities, I won't repeat what other people have said, which we agreed with. There was concern about having more public transportation so that traffic could actually be reduced in the city, that all neighborhoods don't have public transportation.
Right.
And somebody suggested it would be a good idea to have small public vans that take people places. Another big concern was pedestrian as well as bike safety, and that there should be dedicated lanes for each. At the same time that parking regulations should be enforced, because people who park cars get in the way of pedestrians and bicycles. Okay. And I guess the other major thing was there needs to be a balance between growth and livability. And that, there's concern about all the development in Cambridge. I personally agree with a moratorium, but we didn't talk about that in the group. I think those are the main things that came out of the group. There was a lot of concern about youth and having more activities for youth. We have good activities for youth, but encouraging it. And recognizing and respecting the involvement of youth, so that they feel part of it.
Right, growing up into the city. Youth, yeah, so that they feel like they're part of coming up. Well, did Lee's table, did you report that? We're just making you work so hard, I'm sorry.
So we also talked about transit planning being important, and an idea of bringing together the stakeholders, and particularly people who already are familiar with traffic and transit, to help solve the problems. And there were concerns about bikeability and walkability as well, and the subway. On development, we were looking for a very fundamental change to our planning process. Just a need to review all of it from the bottom up. And we would like to see planning take place before development. And I also think, I don't know if we need a moratorium, but I think we need some kind of pause while we figure out what we're doing. That's just my own view. And third, that I haven't exactly heard mentioned, that we would like to see income diversity preserved and even strengthened. And that would also enhance neighborhood stability, and one of the best ways to do that is affordable housing at different income levels and different types, which is not going to happen just through the market at all.
Okay, that's good. So coming to the back, and maybe things that we haven't heard before, so we have time to get to the process issues. So maybe just like one, two great ideas.
One of the things we talked about was the importance of working regionally, working collaboratively with our contiguous cities. We talked about setting specific goals. basically that's it, because we have everybody else, we spend
Right, I
a
think
lot of
we're-
time on housing.
Okay, so maybe you want to, go ahead and answer that and then jump to the process.
She said specifics, that was actually for me. I want to know how many housing units do we need? Or is it from white hair to white hair? How many affordable units do we need? And how is that number going to be agreed upon? And who's going to, who's in the best, who's best to judge what that number is? Because we talk a lot in the abstract without really talking about specifics.
Right.
And we need to have details to talk about.
Okay, so those are some good suggestions, that, and I think the infrastructure, things that we need to know. So we just
May
have...
I add just one more thing?
Yes.
In this question of what should be a priority, there should be a way of making sure that what we do is that there is accountability between the City Council, Community Development, and the Planning Board.
Yes,
There
right.
needs to be a way to guarantee that what we're proposing is in fact followed through.
So I just want to say, yes, right. I just want to, having a conversation like this, where it's ongoing, is being at the same table with the planning board, the city staff, the community, the city councilors, so that, you know, these things, both things that everyone agrees on and don't agree on, you start, you know, to hear each other and get on the same page eventually, even if whatever those trade-offs are.
I think that, and I think we talked more about, and I think you mentioned on our table,
was accountability from.
Yes.
We have to have a method that guarantees us that what we are getting involved with and the time that we are going to spend, because it is a lot of time, is going to come out at the end, and we're going to see a result. And I think we've said that is actually going to reflect the discussion that had been ongoing. It has not been the case in the past, and we have a tendency to believe, those who have been activists for a while, that it is going to be a repeat. So if we have some methodology of making sure that the results are going to be applied and considered respectfully as they should be, that there should be some accountability, some method, as
Okay,
they say,
I
that's going
think
to be
that
right.
was well said, well heard. So I want to just, we'll talk afterward. Can we just, a few quick ideas actually around the room, really, I'm open to from anybody, in terms of how should we get other people involved?
Can I just like kind of do the spoiler, just like kind of, so after that it's going to be positive stuff. So I just want to say, you know, I want the city to plan correctly, and I think that the fact that tonight is a neighborhood association meeting, and that a lot of people here are people that I know, but people of my neighborhood cannot be here.
We'll go there.
Yeah, I know that you'll go there, but why organize a meeting at the Kennedy-Longfellow School in East Cambridge if we cannot attend, if we want to get people involved? Proper planning.
Yes, which is listening, and then we'll go there. So it's fine to have a group this size. We said that we'll go there and have that discussion, because having everybody in one big room isn't necessarily, you know, it's good to have many small conversations as well. So ideas about how to get, so that's a good one, is be more careful with the calendar. We've definitely heard that. Yes? How to get people involved?
You'll start.
Yeah.
Okay, so one, I think, is a simple sample survey that goes out to all the universities here, all the big businesses, and just get it really expanded to the community. But two, which I think is better than that, is we also need to reach the smaller folks, you know, people who don't work for the big businesses, the universities and whatnot. I think how we send like a census, basically, there should be something like that for this time, because this is big. We're getting right out of a recession and whatnot, and we're really trying to make a big plan for the city. And we should get everyone involved, and not just the long-term residents, but even the students, people who are here temporarily, because they're affected by the city as well.
Okay, that's great. Your comments?
One of the things that was mentioned in my group was getting religious leaders involved, churches involved, and childcare, and going into the schools, even as early as elementary school.
Yeah,
I thought that was an interesting.
Yeah, well, I think in that, it's a good way to get families involved.
And the youth centers.
The youth centers, okay? Yeah, and teens, working with
There's
teens.
just one other thing that we came up with was to reach families to go to places where games are happening, soccer games or football games or whatever for the kids.
We're going to be in hoops and held on Saturday afternoon. Yes, Shelley?
It was just another suggestion which is related to going to schools and places where families can be, is have some youth entertainment or children's entertainment at the beginning of the meeting, and parents would be more likely to come out.
Right.
And providing refreshments, providing dinner as well as childcare helps bring parents.
Yes, okay. I'm going to come back to James. Could someone else at this table speak? Because I always like to, I'm happy to have to leave, but what about everybody else? Even the people from the city, like, well, hello.
It's working?
Yeah.
I'd like to respond to question number 4, which is not up there.
Okay.
Question number 4 is, what are we worried about when it comes to the master plan? And let me tell you, if the city is worried about climate control and vulnerability, very good issue, tough one. What I'm worried about is social vulnerability, instability in the whole city, from too many rich developers running around, going after my house. Within the past week, I've got at least 3 letters from developers who want to buy my 3-decker. All I have to do is leave, take the money and leave. I leave, my tenants leave. They don't care. They strip the building down, they sell it for $1 million a unit. This is instability, and I don't like it. I don't want it.
Okay,
and
well,
I
don't
feel threatened
sell.
by it.
Don't sell then. But yeah, but that's a great point. That is, I mean, it's safe to say, right, there's a lot of real estate pressure in the cities.
It'd be great to hear from the kids in our high school before they go out of session. In a few weeks, but we've got one great high school.
Yeah, the fall. I know we'll miss one class, but we're definitely in the fall. James, yeah.
In seconding that, we did talk about maybe, some kind of a notice in the backpacks of the kids.
Yes,
It's not perfect, but to work with the kids and through the kids to their families, including them. Direct mail. The city of Cambridge does newsletters and stuff that go into every household in the city about the taxes, about a bunch of other things. There's no reason why. This is important enough that we could do a mailing to the entire city about this process, and also not over-relying, not to exclude it, but not to over-rely on the internet. This is one of my bugaboos. But to appreciate public visibility, which means specifically flyers in public places, risking putting them on lamp poles occasionally. This is important enough to relax some of those prohibitions, bulletin boards, and even door-to-door flyer. Elon mentioned that. Taking this stuff door-to-door. It's important enough that we can
do that. Okay, I think that's a great idea. I want to is it Lori? Lori had a great idea, if I can just jump in and say, which is making it easier to sign up for those who want to get on listservs, making it easier on the...
Hello, can you hear me? I just wanted to say, luckily I'm on neighborhood association's listserv, so I know about meetings like this.
Yeah.
If I wasn't, I wouldn't. So on the CDC website today, I went in to try to sign up on their mailing list so I would be notified of meetings like this, and there was no link on their homepage.
It's a great suggestion.
So if they can just put that on their homepage, because I know many of my neighbors that live in the same building, they're very concerned about this, and yet they don't know where to go to get the information firsthand, put it on the homepage.
Exactly. Okay, I would like to be respectful of time. Lee, you have something quick to say? Go.
This is a very different idea than anything that's been mentioned, which is to use a format that online groups like Move On have successfully used, where the city makes a either slideshow or video presentation that's downloadable, and then has discussion questions that are downloadable, and that people can self-organize in their homes at the times that are convenient to them. And on the city website, there could be a place where you could find all the different things that you might choose to go to and sign up for one. And these kinds of house parties happen all over the country, and they're highly effective at planning.
It's a great idea, because it's really the only way that, to reach a lot of people is to have that network of connections.
Also, put the addresses on this list, this comprehensive list. Not everybody knows where all these places are.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, last thing. Go ahead.
Well, obviously there's no one-size-fits-all solution. So I think it's very important to cut our system so that we understand that universities have a specific way of getting the word across, so through social media, but then how do we get across to the families? And so I think part of that is first incentive, which is very short term, and getting maybe a festival of some sort in order to get people collaborating and talking together. And then the second is empowering communities through different methods to keep them active and keep them willing to be there in the long term, even after they've maybe moved out, and caring and being empowered through their voices enough to stay within the community.
Okay, that's great. So that's a good wrap up. Thank you very much. So it is on us to sum up these things and to be able to post them.
One more here.
I want to put one more out there.
Well,
I think it's important. I haven't heard it from anyone else, and that is one of the things that came up at this table was that the leadership of the city should actually get out there and signal the importance of this process by doing some personal connecting to leaders of community groups and to the public. Going door to door, attending house parties, something like that. So there's some real personal connections.
Okay, so yes, and many counselors are obviously here and have been here last night, but a great suggestion. So that's what we want. I mean, I'm sure you'll have more ideas. Co-Urbanize will be up shortly. You know how to reach us, which is on the website, but also you can call Stuart, you can call me, you can go to that email and we all see it.